Okay, here we continue on with the wire tie and putting everything all together. As I mentioned before in the last finishing off with the last video, um, making sure everything is clean, like a spring cleaning. You want to do this like you do a vehicle. If you have a new vehicle, you take it in, you have it you oil change every so often after so many kilometers and or miles. Usually, basically for me, it's every 6 months because I don't drive that much. But for some, it might be more often. And then you get your tires taken in for wire tire rotation and everything, and different things, and getting greasing and stuff. Yeah, same thing with this your computer. You got a lot of money invested into something that you want to try to maintain it as best you can. Not think of it as just another little thing that you just throw on the shelf, use it, and oh well, it's burned out. I'll just go buy a new one. You got a lot of money invested. These things can cost anywhere from six to $3,000, depending on what you spend. Um, like I say, keep things maintained. And here I am now. I'm trying to get the front fan hooked up, and this little yeah, this was a I hate to say it, but this was a little cheap little fan that I picked up. And when you buy cheap, you have to kind of work at it, and the pins kind of came out of it. Trying to hook up to the old style um, plugs on the out of the power supply. I'm trying to get everything all back so that it will work. It will come back. And taking me a little time. If I were you, I wouldn't do this cheap out like I did. I got it to work, but it took me a little bit. Taking a little time doing this, especially if you do this yourself. Um, just be patient and try to get things right. I finally got this working. It went in nicely, and then I'm gonna get this to wire tie this all down. I believe this is the last video on the wire tie. The next one will be on the system startup, getting things done. And of course, I already I'm using one of my colored ones. This is I believe a red twist tie that I got. Like I said in a previous one, I bought a package from a dollar store that had multiple colored um, twist ties, so I know what was tied to what. There's a white one. Tying the back of this down. And this is getting everything into a spot. And this is there's a narrow spot right behind the power supply and the CD-ROM that I'm wire tying everything into, so everything fits. Because in this spot where I'm doing it, there's not really a lot of necessary airflow. Um, this is just wires. The power supply is actually getting air from outside, from the bottom of the case, or if you stand it up, it becomes the side. It sucks the air out and blows it out the front. And then you got the fan that I put in, which is actually sucking air out and blowing it out either out the side or the top, depending on the orientation. And then of course the fan that I was saying before, which is an 80 mil fan, that I was having difficulty getting the plug to work. It actually sucks air in from the front, and and blowing it over and bringing it in and over the hard drive and the SSD to keep that area cool. Yeah, I'm just getting everything all wire tied and ready, and I believe this will finish up all the wire tie. And as you can see, everything is nice and neat and in behind that one motherboard. And like I said before, if you actually had a micro board and trying to do this in behind like that, this wouldn't work because it would be 9 inches, and that would be another inch behind this motherboard, and I believe that wouldn't work so much. So I wouldn't recommend putting a micro board. A ITX motherboard would work fine because it's actually I believe is not much more than 7 by 7 or 7 by 5 or 7 by 6, or I'd have to check that out actually, because but you can actually look them up, see what the size they are. Like I said, basically for myself, if I buy a case, I know what I look at the case, I buy it, and I see what I can do inside, and then from that point I go and move on to picking what motherboard. I decided what processor I want, but the motherboard for the processor, I try to pick one that is within a certain size, so that it will fit into a certain space. And this case is perfectly suited for multimedia. If you want to, like I said before in a prior video, set it up, putting so you can watch Netflix and put it next to your TV, watch Netflix, and or Show Me or some other online programs, YouTube, etc., etc. This is perfectly suited. And then putting in a discrete video card, like I said, I'm putting in the NVIDIA 750 Ti, which will play Grand Theft Auto 5 and Battlefield 4, Call of Duty, any role-playing games like World of Warcraft, and you can play them on your TV. And this is perfectly good system for that. It will do just about everything you need it to do. At some point, you can even add a a TV tuner card into it. But anyways, this is the end of doing the cable management. I hope you enjoyed these ones. The next one, I believe, is showing startup.